All right. I'm gonna get started just a few minutes late today because I think people are still trying to find the news. Thank you so much, Andrew.
No problem. Anytime.
Lifesaver as
I'm glad
always.
it worked out.
Illustrious paleo.
Absolutely.
Grab some pizza if you want.
Okay, if you insist.
I do. I
right.
really appreciate it.
No problem. Let me know if there's
So
any
then
other-
after this, should I send the PowerPoint? Oh, I should have included maybe out there.
Yeah, they can actually see the screen pretty well.
Okay. So I send it to you guys to chapter or whatever?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
there's no materials to chapter it with?
We just have like a description and keywords and all that stuff, problem codes.
Okay.
So yeah, and then we'll send you a link and that's it.
Okay, great.
Sound good?
Yeah, sounds great.
Good luck. All right, we'll do.
get started here. I'll let them know when we maybe move it back further some time.
Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Thanks for being so patient with figuring out which classroom we were in. We just found out about 15 minutes ago ourselves. So I think what it calls us
As long as we keep moving it, maybe it won't happen.
technical difficulties. Okay, so first I wanted to open up, as we always do, and see if any interns here would like to share something that they're working on. That's your agency. Anyone?
I'll share.
Yes, please. And your name and which agency you're at.
I'm Justin Edge, and I'm working with the Law Project. So I've been working with Greater Inglewood Community Development Corporation on a project they're doing through IDA to remove blight from neighborhoods down in their area. But it's a grant money and financing coming through the state, the county land bank to go through and demolish houses in specific areas to try to keep the property values up. So it's been pretty neat.
Yeah. All right. Is there any announcements of activities going on or things we should know about that you all have heard about through your organization? Okay. How did the disability parade go? Awesome. Yeah. All right. So I do want to point out Michael Bergman is here too, our executive director again, and he sent out a notice about 2 different opportunities that you can apply to. You can first serve as a non-voting member on our board of directors for a 2-year term. It would start this September and run through August 2017. And then there's a second opportunity to serve as a representative to Philly's Alumni Network Leadership Council. And that's another 2-year term also starting in September and ending August 2017. So if you're interested in either of those positions, you can just email Michael a cover letter and which states your interest and why you're interested and a little bit about yourself, and then also include a resume. You could apply for either one or both, but in your cover letter you should specifically state which one of the positions you're interested in. The deadline to submit those is August 14th, so it's coming up. This is a competitive process, but we encourage everyone who's interested to apply. It's a really great opportunity to get to meet. We have 56 members on our board of directors of people from law firms and agencies and law schools all across the state. So it's a really great opportunity. And our Alumni Network Leadership Council is a similarly unique opportunity to spend time with our alum and help do some behind the scenes planning. Come on in. So please apply for that by August 14th. And then tonight I want to just remind everybody about a unique opportunity to express your opinions. So this is titled The Millennial Power in Equal Justice Sector. The Sergeant Schreiber National Center on Poverty Law is hosting the second what they're calling Focus 50 focus group, and it's in recognition of the 50th anniversary of the War on Poverty and Civil Rights Movement. So this focus group is an opportunity for people who are emerging into becoming new legal advocates and within maybe 5 years of working in this field, and it's talking with them about really to learn about attitudes towards poverty and racial justice, and then they will use that to inform the information they get from that to inform work that they do with their key stakeholders and public interest organizations. So it's a real focus group, but it's also a neat opportunity because it's being hosted at through this exhibit at the David Weinberg Studio, and it's called The Invisible Hand is the exhibit, and that it's studying structural inequity and attempts to unpack the many diverse experiences of poverty as part of the exhibit. So be able to go into the art exhibit, see all that, and then also take part in this focus group. So that's happening tonight. It goes from 5:30 to 7. There's about 20 people signed up right now, so there's plenty of room. And we encourage you guys to register for it. You can do that through the email I sent out last week, or you can talk to me and I can send you the link for the registration. It's not on our website and it's not run through us, but I can provide that for you if you're interested. I encourage you to go. I think it's going to be a really unique opportunity to make your voice heard. So, any questions about either of those opportunities? Great. So coming up next week, Thursday, July 30th, we're thinking we'll be in room 503. Be on your toes, we may be somewhere else if they're doing construction there. So from 11:45 to 1 again, and on that one we'll be doing reflection on your internship, so it's an evaluation and sharing session with Philly interns specifically. So we'll be taking this opportunity to really hear from you all. We'll be doing our own kind of focus group and give an opportunity for you to share and reflect on experiences you've had this summer. We will have special door prizes for everyone in attendance, and we'll also be having Wow Bow if any of those two things lure you to coming. But the most important thing is that we really want to give you the opportunity to have this discussion with your peers, and also for us to learn from that so that it informs what we do next year. So it's really valuable for us, and we hope that you find it valuable as well. So that same evening, next Thursday, we're also hosting a happy hour with First 10, and that's a network of local public interest lawyers within their first 10 years of their career, and it's really intended to support them through that first 10 years and create a network for them. So we'll be doing this together at Randolph Tavern. We're meeting there. It's at Wells and Randolph from 5 to 7. We've got about 20 people. They've got about 20 people signed up. Please feel free to sign up, Philly, or otherwise, to come. And I think that should be another really great networking event. We'll maybe do some facilitated networking so that it's a little easier to talk to everyone. So there's that. For today, if we can get this, good, great. So today we're talking about the network that you've built this summer, Springboard to your legal career. And we have Mari Montero, a traumatic brain injury project manager at Equip for Equality, and Beth Karpiak, an Equal Justice Works Fellow, also at Equip for Equality with us. And I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that you likely hear a lot about the importance of networking and may or may not have some positive or negative feelings about that. But just keep in mind that the executive director of Lawyers Committee for Better Housing, Cheryl Lawrence, said last week that they only hire known entities. And that really, I think, kind of gets to, for as far as employment, the importance of this. And then we also talked about the value of developing those relationships in community. And so we want to really break down today how a lot of that process. So we're going to discuss about embracing opportunities to build meaningful professional relationships and maintain connections with your employer after you've left your internship that you can hopefully later on leverage. So I encourage you all to ask a lot of questions, push back, share what your thoughts are as they're talking, and I will turn it over to you all. Thanks.
Okay, good afternoon, and thank you, Katie, for inviting Beth and I to present at this lunch. This is actually something that we've been talking with Katie about since October, so it's exciting that today is finally here and Beth and I are able to share with you a little bit of our sort of insights and our perspectives on this topic. And I think Katie gave a really fantastic introduction, but I just want to emphasize that oftentimes I think there's so much of a focus in summer internships and externships on substantive areas of law and the experience of actually working in the law office that oftentimes what kind of gets passed over are some other aspects that are important too, like developing relationships that can help you once you graduate from law school to springboard into your career. And that's really what we're going to focus on today. So let me give you a little more information about who we are so you can decide whether or not it's a good idea to listen to us today. As Katie mentioned, I'm the Traumatic Brain Injury Project Manager at Equip for Equality. I'm also an attorney. I've been licensed for almost 11 years. I graduated from Chicago, Kent in 2004. And I've been working at Equip for Equality my entire legal career in lots of different capacities. It's been a fantastic experience. It's a great organization. If those of you who don't know about it, we provide free legal services to people with disabilities, and we're a statewide agency. That's a little bit about me. Before I went to law school, I worked as a community organizer for 2 years, and I went to college in Minnesota. I've been living in Chicago since 1999.
Hi, so I'm Beth. Like Katie said, I'm an Equal Justice Works Fellow at Equip for Equality in the Abuse Investigation Unit. And I know I'm going to say this, I'm going to tell you now, if you hear EFE, that's Equip for Equality. So just as we continue, that's what we're talking about. So I've been at EFE in the Abuse Investigation Unit for just about 2 years now, so I've been licensed for a little bit under 2 years. I'm from the Chicago suburbs. I went to the University of Michigan for undergrad, and I studied political science. And then I took some time off after undergrad, and now And then I went to Loyola in Chicago for law school. I graduated with a health law certificate and a public interest law certificate. I met Mari the winter of my first year in law school. I had applied for a summer internship, and we did an interview together in about December. And then I took on that internship that summer. After that summer, I continued to volunteer a couple hours a week during my second year of law school. My second summer, I actually stepped away from Equip for Equality, which is okay to do in law school, to pursue some other interests. But then halfway through that summer, reached out to Mari to start talking about applying to be a fellowship applicant at Equip for Equality. When I started doing my fellowship application, Mari was my direct supervisor in developing my proposal and my staff contact for my interviews and for making sure that I was ready to go for this fellowship. Currently, we work really closely in the Traumatic Brain Injury Project and often partner up, as we are today, on a lot of things in our workplace, and we've really been able to use that to our benefit.
Great. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is how to ensure a successful end of your summer internship. And we're going to give you tips that are both practical and hopefully motivating. So the summer's coming to an end. There's a couple of things to sort of hone in on and make sure that you do to wrap up the summer and make it a success. The first thing that I would suggest doing is to finish off what you set out to accomplish this summer. So this could include finishing, obviously, all your assignments that are given, but if you had a specific goal in mind, like you wanted to make sure that you stepped up in court, or you wanted to make sure that you had some client contact, or to write a specific memo to walk away with a writing sample, this is a good time to start thinking about that right now. Communicate these issues with your supervisor, and make sure you end the summer the way that you envision it, with your goals achieved.
Great. So the next tip is to stand out from the crowd. I think a good way to do this is ask yourself if there's a concrete need that the organization has that you can address this summer. And if there is, you need to be a yes person. And by that, I mean if someone comes in your office and they're giving you a task that might not fit within kind of your idea of what you thought your legal internship would be this summer, you need to say yes. You're first and foremost going to be remembered after your internship for your legal work. But second, a very, very close second, I think, is how easy you are to work with and how flexible you are. So be prepared, like I said, kind of take off that law school hat and be dedicated to supporting the agency in all of its goals. Some examples of things that you might be able to do to kind of step out and be noticed and be what I like to call a good institutional citizen, so not just a good lawyer, not just a good law student, someone who supports the mission of the agency as well as the overall success of the agency. So some ideas of things you could do. Are there fact sheets on your agency's website that need to be updated? Are those out of date? Take a look at those, volunteer to update those. A lot of public interest organizations, I know Equip for Equality, we have a lot of kind of focus group meetings or community meetings. Volunteer to lead one of those meetings. Make your supervisor's job easier. We had an intern in our office accompany an attorney to prison to interview clients. I mean, step out, do things that are outside of what you would normally consider part of your internship. And the last example I have is help plan an office party. I mean, we all do those. They're all really fun, and they don't happen without a lot of time dedicated to the staff. So, you know, turn off Westlaw for a second, volunteer to help out. Again, by taking on these kind of unusual tasks, you're going to be remembered as someone that's nice to work with, someone that's easy to work with, and someone who has the agency at heart rather than just their personal goals this summer.
My next suggestion is to connect on LinkedIn with staff and other interns. And I've kind of had mixed feedback on this. Some interns, and it seems like in particular in Chicago, are like on LinkedIn and connecting. Maybe others aren't, but I will give you a tip, a personal tip, that there are times when we don't expect a job to be posted, and suddenly someone might go on maternity leave, or maybe we have a specific project we need someone to fill in for, and it's nice that I can look on LinkedIn and have the opportunity to be like, oh, so-and-so maybe is in between jobs, or they just graduated and they don't have a job, right? They're looking for one. So it's sort of a resource for us that we can use to reach out to you and say, hey, I want you to know this job is being posted. I think that it would be a great place for you to apply. It's just a way for you to make that connection now when we're seeing each other and talking to each other every day, and it doesn't feel awkward to send a LinkedIn request, and then establish that bond moving forward.
And I'm going to add one thing about LinkedIn. I know that when I first started using it, I was really bashful about going and looking at people's profile because they can see that you did that. But don't be bashful about that. When people look at mine, I'm like, ooh, yeah, they looked at mine. Like, it's a compliment. So like, feel free to give people compliments. Go on their, their LinkedIn and let them know you're around and you're looking at it. So the next tip that we have is be remembered, and when you're exiting, say thank you. Say thank you to your supervisor, say thank you to the other attorneys in your department, and don't forget the support staff. So if your agency has administrative assistants, make sure that you say thank you to them too. If you really want to be remembered, go ahead and write a written thank you note. Maybe not an email, go above and beyond, send something in the mail, write a written thank you note. If there's someone that you've been working with who you've been particularly inspired by, or someone that you think has gone out of their way to help you, make it really personalized to them. And that's really going to help you kind of solidify you in their mind as you leave and the year continues.
So the next tip is to leave your office space or cube space in the same way that you found it. So don't leave files laying around, don't leave it messy. Clean it up. If there's food that's spilled, whatever, have that cleaned up. Just leave your space nice. And also return anything that you've borrowed from staff or other interns. And I'm going to give you this suggestion sort of in context. And this is not meant to scare you. It's just meant to be honest. The honest truth is that during the summer, you're always being evaluated. You're being evaluated, sure, of course, on your legal research and writing and other legal skills, but you're being evaluated in how you work with others, other law students. You're being evaluated in how you treat support staff. You're being evaluated in your office demeanor. And you want to be remembered for your strong legal work and not for something else. And I'll give you a really specific example. A couple summers ago, an intern of mine borrowed my umbrella on a rainy day. And I had two in the office, and so I was happy to lend her one. And she didn't return it. And I asked like many times, can you please return my umbrella? And she still actually, 2 years later, has not returned it. And so when I think of this law student, and I'm just being honest, the first thing I think of when I hear her name is that woman did not return my umbrella. And I remember that before I remember all the other good work, which I know she did. And you don't want to be that person. You don't want to be the person who didn't return the umbrella. You didn't want to be the person who spilled Coke in one of your drawers and never cleaned it out. And then I discovered it later and I had to clean it out. But we could just call the building and they can clean it out. Be somebody who's just constantly aware that you're being evaluated. And it's not meant to intimidate you or make you feel like you're under a microscope. It's not that at all. It's just those other aspects of sort of who you are as a person, how you work with others are really important.
So the next tip is, as you're exiting, try to keep the door open to working with the agency again in the future. So there's likely going to be an exit interview process where you give some feedback and your supervisor gives you some feedback about your summer. So this is a really great time to ask questions about next semester and beyond. So if this is an organization that you want to volunteer at during the school year, communicate that really clearly at this exit interview. If you can only give a couple hours, see if there's something that you can do to volunteer. Keep the door open. Don't leave with the door completely shut. Even if you don't want to work at the organization this coming semester in the fall, still keep the door open. Communicate your goals for your law school experiential learning very clearly. I want to go work at the public defender's office next semester to get that experience, but I'm still really passionate about the work I'm doing this summer. Are there opportunities to intern down the line? And then ask what that application process would look like. Should I reach out directly to you, or is there someone I should submit my resume for? So keep that dialogue open, don't just leave. Another thing to talk about at the exit interview is to explore fellowship opportunities. Again, I'm an Equal Justice Works Fellow, and many of you probably know what a fellowship is, but I'm going to go into it really briefly. So I'm an employee of Equip for Equality, but I am funded by Walgreens and a big law firm, Greenberg Traurig. And they are supporting me to do a project that is in line with Equip for Equality's mission, but unique from whatever they're doing in the past. And this is really a great way to get your foot into a public interest organization. Very rarely are public interest organizations going to hire brand new attorneys. So this is a way for you to bring your funding to the door, do great work for 2 years, and prove that you are invaluable. Prove that they cannot let you go and they have to hire you. So if you're interested in fellowship opportunities, if you're a 1L, ask at the end of this summer. I'm interested in knowing what your fellowship process looks like. What do I need to do to be in the running to be your candidate? Ask if they've had fellows in the past. If they have, talk with those fellows and see what their experience is like and what they suggest you do to kind of keep your name and your face in mind for when they're looking for candidates. If you're a 2L and you're interested in fellowships, ask right now. They're probably going through a candidate selection process, and each organization selects their candidates differently. So find your supervisor, whoever you feel most comfortable with, ask them right now, ask them today, tell them you're interested in fellowships and you'd like to put your name in the running. If there's no exit interview, if they're kind of just gonna let you go on your last day, make one yourself. Tell your supervisor now, I'd really like to meet with you to wrap up things for the end of the summer. Can I schedule some time in your calendar? Don't just leave. Put your face before them before you go and leave on a good note.
All right, so another real life example, and this tip is let us down easy. And I'm gonna read this letter, then I'm gonna kind of explain the context of it. So, hi Mari, I wanted to thank you again for considering me for an internship at Equip for Equality. Even though I chose to pursue the internship with the Civil Rights team, I hope that one day to have another opportunity to be involved with your team. You made Equip for Equality sound like such an amazing place to work. It's also very inspirational to see a female Kent alumni with the kind of career I one day hope to have. Thank you so much for your time. Wow, what a fantastic way to say no, right? Isn't that awesome? So this letter came to me about 2 years ago from a current Pilly, actually, who decided not to work in my department. She went to another department. And I love this letter so much that I saved it. And I actually didn't have anything in mind, but I was like, this is gonna be used at some point. And so then when Beth and Katie and I started forming this presentation, I was like, I'm gonna grab that letter. Because that's what she said. She said no in a way that made me feel so good first about myself, about my department, and made me want to hold that door wide open for her anytime she felt like coming back. This is a student I've stayed in touch with, somebody I run into at Chicago Kent when I go over there from time to time. So let us down easy. If you're not coming back, if you decide this isn't the right place for you, maybe now, maybe into the future, figure out a way to say it that allows you maybe to not slam that door. Even if you think to yourself, you know what, I really want to do a firm, that's what I really envision doing after graduation, have a conversation about maybe there's a position for me on your young alumni board. I would be really interested in volunteering and doing pro bono. So figure out a way to not close the door. All right, so this is kind of the last tip in this section. And if you think about law school is really focused on the future, right? You're spending 3 years learning all this information to sit for one test and then just like start your career. And everything is really like zoned in on the future. But do yourself a favor, and as the summer comes to a close, take a minute to look back and reflect. And think about everything you've achieved this summer. Think about all the things you've learned, think about the skills you obtained, think about the connections you've made, think about the people that you've met, and really take that moment to reflect and not just jump right into classes. I think it will be rewarding, and I think it will also help maybe give you a little focus on your direction Do you have some specific
Yeah, and
examples?
I think it can help you figure out how you can frame this summer on your resume, and it's to your benefit in the future. I'm thinking about my first summer at Equip for Equality, and it goes so fast, and I'm sure my interns here today are going to share the same feelings. When I came in, I knew that I career advancement and fulfillment in your workplace. So specifically, it's a professional relationship established between two individuals of different generations, built and maintained to help each other develop, grow, and progress in your respective careers. So one aspect of the relationship is the traditional mentoring. So the person from the more experienced position, the older generation, educating the new attorney or the younger person. And the other part, which is what makes reverse mentoring unique, is where the younger individual mentors the more experienced individual on matters pertaining to things that they're not very comfortable with. So maybe new technologies and new ways of thinking and reasoning. So one area where we have found this particularly valuable, networking. So what do you guys think when you hear networking? Can anyone share kind of the feeling you feel inside?
Dread. Okay. What else? What do you feel inside when you hear networking?
Anxiety.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Anxiety.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
What else?
Those are pretty
That
good.
sums it up. Okay.
I mean, when I hear networking, I kind of think like, yeah, I know, but like, what am I actually supposed to do? Attending a random network event and meeting random people is stressful, dreadful, anxiety-filled, and not really effective. So we've been able to use reverse mentoring to do something we call intentional networking. The first way to do this is to share connections. So often younger individuals need to get face time with more senior people, with decision makers. And the more experienced mentor in this relationship can share those connections to you. And so when you have that introduction from someone who's experienced, from someone who knows the decision makers and can vouch for your credibility and vouch for your work ethic and the work that you've done this summer, it's going to be so much easier to network. They're going to feel like they're not wasting their time, and they're going to already know that you're someone valuable and someone that's worth talking to. Also, if you present yourself as a team, like Mari and I do this all the time. When she's introducing me to senior decision makers and to people that I want to get my face in front of, and they know that we work together and that Mari can vouch for my work, they automatically think that I'm someone that's valuable and someone that's worth talking to, without me having to sit there and say, I've done this, this, and this, and I'm really good at this. It comes from the more senior person, and that carries so much more weight.
And it also works the other way too, and Beth will talk about this, but she can also, if we're not working together, I don't have to go and talk about my achievements. I have Beth to do it for me, so we're working as a partnership.
Yes, yes. And so another way that this works, vice versa, where I've helped Mari with networking, and this is where you as interns can bring some value to a reverse mentoring relationship, is to put interns and really great law students in front of the person that's hiring them. So as you guys are leaving this summer, Mari is already trying to find our interns for next semester. And as soon as those interns come, as soon as they're trained, we're trying to find interns for the next semester. So being able to kind of hook up your law school friends and people that you think would enjoy doing the work that you're doing this summer with your supervisor is a really great way to help them out. Several times when I was an intern and as a young attorney, I've been able to think of people I went to law school with that are interested in health law, that are interested in disability rights, and I know will do good work, and I've been able to hook them up with Mari, and they've interned for us, and it's been really great.
And I'll give you like a very specific example. In this room, there are 2 interns who I'm working with, who, when they applied for a summer position with EFE, I had run into another law student who I worked with at their law school in the past. And I didn't know that she knew these women, but she happened to mention how wonderful they were to me. And to me, that carries so much value. Yes, of course, like I want to know that your torts professor thinks you're fantastic and this and that, but if another law student is recommending you to me, that tells me that you're a team player, that you work well with others, that you are somebody who is trustworthy, that your fellow students trust. It really carries a lot of weight. So please don't undermine how valuable your opinions and your perspectives are.
And it also helps the more senior individual in the reverse mentoring relationship to maintain positive relationships with the next generation of lawyers. I mean, they're in supervision for positions, and they need to be able to show that they can have positive relationships with young attorneys and that they can supervise them well and work with them well. So being able to support those types of relationships as the younger person in a reverse mentoring situation is really valuable. Another networking strategy that we've developed together is to attend networking events together. It's way easier to work a room with a buddy, and it's even easier to work a room if your buddy is of a different generation, and I'll explain why. So when you're on your own and you see a target at a networking event, and that's someone I want to meet, and you go up to them, and you have to start talking about yourself. And it's really awkward, and it can sound disingenuous, and it's uncomfortable, and it's not really effective. If you're with a buddy, so if Mari and I go to an event together, as my supervisor, she can build me up and say, Beth is really great at this, she's also really great at client contact, and she's a joy to work with. And I can sit there as the very gracious millennial, which is something that people from older generations don't think exists, but you can sit there as the gracious millennial and say, oh, it's also really great to work with Mari, thank you so much. And it makes for small talk to be really valuable and also really easy. So I'm going to tell a story about an event that Mari and I went to a few weeks ago that we were able to use kind of this intentional networking strategy. So it was an event that I wanted to get in front of a decision maker, and I did not know this person. There was no way that this person knows who Beth Karpiak Equal Justice Works Fellow is, but it's someone that Mari has had contact with and knows fairly well. So we went to this event. We went out there intentionally, we saw this person, we approached him. Mari was able to give an update on her life, introduce me, and talk about all the great work that I'm doing at Equip for Equality. Like, done, event over, intentional target achieved. And I mean, from the reverse strategy at the same time, it was a young lawyers event. So I don't know if Mari wants to reveal
You
her
can
age.
tell it. You can tell it.
So I'm 28. Mari is exactly 10 years older than me, and so she's pushing the young lawyer title a little bit.
A little bit.
So I was able to get her in front of young lawyers that I knew at this event to network about maybe doing pro bono with Equip for Equality, volunteering with Equip for Equality, or interning with us. So we were able to, and I don't think she would have felt comfortable doing that at a young lawyers event on her own. So we're able to both accomplish our intentional goal at this networking event. And I know Mari has another story about
So yep, I do. And my networking event that Beth and I operated together was actually a Pilly event. It was a Pilly lunch. And there was somebody from a career service office there that I knew would be attending. And this career service person works for a law school that has postgraduate fellowships, which is something I think would be fantastic for Equip for Equality, to have someone, you know, do like a postgraduate fellowship that's paid for the law school after graduation. And I really wanted to meet him and just let him know a little bit about our agency and sort of have that in his mind when he was sort of steering students towards these fellowships. So we attend the event, and I thought, you know what, if I actually bring someone who is a fellow with me, that might help, because he can see, like, Beth is happy, she is successful, she feels supported, she feels like she's accomplishing her goals in her fellowship, she feels like she's getting the support and supervision she needs. So it was a very strategic move for us to do this, to partner at the networking event, and for me to, you know, find my target and bring Beth and have her kind of talk up how great it is to work at Equip for Equality as a recent law school graduate.
Yeah. So this is just one strategy that we've developed with reverse mentoring. If you have other questions about reverse mentoring, we'd be happy to answer those after the discussion, or if you want to reach out to us, we have our contact information at the end. But I think what you can take away from this is, as your summer comes to an end, if there are events that you want to attend, don't be afraid to ask your supervisor or someone you feel comfortable with at your organization to go with you, because it's going to benefit both of you. So be proactive in getting someone to come with you and trying to forge this type of reverse mentoring and intentional networking relationship.
Great. So I'm going to take a little trip down memory lane for a second. I was having dinner last night with one of my girlfriends, Katie, is her name, and it's her birthday today, so it's our birthday dinner. She's turned 29 today. I will be 39 later this year. And somehow we got on the topic, it was a long dinner, we somehow got on the topic of like who we dated when we were in high school. And I was telling her about a boy who I liked when I was in high school, who I had met on vacation, and I grew up in Maryland and he grew up in Wisconsin, and how for almost 6 years we were like pen pals and sent each other letters back and forth. And she was like, a letter? Like you wrote it down? And I was like, yeah, Katie, it was 1990. Is anyone born in 1990 in this room? Yeah, okay, great. I was in high school. There was not email, there was not, I mean, there was no text messaging, there was no, like, Facebook, there was really, you know what there was? There was one telephone in my parents' kitchen, which I probably could have used. I have 2 little sisters. I'm sure they would have been, like, all up in my business. And long distance was really expensive, so we wrote each other letters. And the reason I'm telling you this is because I want you to put into context. I'm really not that much older than you guys, but think about that. Think about if you were in high school and you were communicating with your crush in, like, writing letters. Like, so much has happened in technology since 1990. And because of that, I need you guys desperately. So let's do a little hands up for this. So talking about technology, who has done a Facebook post? Anybody? Awesome. I would probably need help with that. I don't have Facebook. Who has done a Prezi presentation? Prezi's so cool. I just found out about that last year and I love it. And Aisha did a fantastic one for our brain injury group. So I want to learn how to do that. You guys can help me with that. Who sent a tweet? No, don't on Twitter, but EFB does, so I might, you know, need you to help send out a tweet about an event or like a success we had. Okay, who has inserted photos or charts into PowerPoint? Great, definitely we need you for that. Okay, this is the worst. Who has done website development? Anybody? Yeah, okay, that is the scariest to me because I'm pretty sure if I had to, I could figure out the other ones. That one I couldn't. Thank God I had Beth because the first week she started, I was like, and I need you for this, please, right now. And it was website development. You haven't done it,
No.
but you figured it out because you know why? I'll tell you, young people, I believe, have a quality, which is they assume an answer exists, especially in technology. And to me, that is so valuable because I assume that I'm gonna fail at it. So if we could partner, that would be fantastic. But it's more than technology. And I think when you hear the concept of reverse mentoring, there's so much emphasis on technology. And yes, technology is a part of the reverse mentoring role, but I work at Equip for Equality. We provide free legal services to people with disabilities. Specifically, I work on the abuse investigation unit. There's not a lot of happy stories that come into that department. There's not a lot of, there's just not a lot of laughter and joy that necessarily come out of, especially the beginning of a case, where we're usually looking at things that are really sad, that are terrible, that are really, violations, and oftentimes devastating.
Even the end of the case is someone's no longer being abused
Right.
anymore. I mean,
It's
it's not real happy.
It's not a real happy fact scenario often. So what does this have to do with you guys? It has to do with your energy and your vitality and your youth and your excitement and your passion that sort of energizes me and energizes our department and makes us want to push on further, makes us feel more cohesive, makes us feel stronger and braver and more effective. And so you also really bring that. You bring freshness. And you bring fresh thoughts, fresh ideas, and lots of energy. And that's really, really valuable. So.
Yeah, so this picture, you are a gift. Don't underestimate your value to the agency. They need you. They need you.
We do. All right. So, beyond mentoring and reverse mentoring, how to build and maintain relationships. And I'm gonna talk about this in sort of two ways. First, in Chicago, but I'm also gonna talk about it outside Chicago because I know well, who here goes to law school outside Chicago? Okay, a lot of you. Good to know. So we're gonna take care of you guys. The first thing to talk about so you've left your internship, right? And you want to keep this connection. You've done all the things that Beth and I suggested, but you still have a couple more years in law school, maybe one, but you want to maintain this relationship. You want to maintain contacts, and so these are some strategies. The first one is, right, keep in touch in email. I might not have had email in 1990, but I do have it now, and I know how to use it. And so if I can switch, this is a good email example of somebody who sent me an email just checking in. So I'll read it to you. Hi Mari, just wanted to get in touch and wish you a Happy New Year. Okay, that's a great time to do it, right? Because it's natural to say Happy New Year to somebody. And I hope you had a wonderful holiday season. I hope all the spring interns are doing well. How is everything going at Equip? Any new updates or changes? I miss working with you and Beth. As a little update on my part, I'm still working at the firm through this year and will work into the summer as well. I really like the litigation aspect of health law, and I think it's something that I will pursue in the future. I also started externing at Lori Children's Hospital as part of their in-house legal counsel. I find it really beneficial working two different types of health law and continuing to expand into many avenues of health law has to offer. I hope all is well with you. I hope AIU finds another wonderful group of summer interns. Great. Guess what? When I saw this email, it reminded me of this person, and I thought nice things about her, and it kind of connected me to her, right? And that's something that's really easy to do. It's really easy to send an email like this. She's not asking for something. She's just checking in. She's giving me a little update. She's keeping my mind fresh with a memory of her. So in case she does want to circle around later and come back to Equip, I won't be scratching my head saying who, when. So that's one strategy. Some other strategies that students have done after they left that helps kind of cement our relationship and keep us in contact is to send interesting articles or links. I have obviously a lot of interest in traumatic brain injury, so oftentimes that's a good thing to send me specifically, but you know, send whatever your supervisor is interested in. But sometimes it's just a short email saying, hey Mari, I read this article, I thought it was interesting, check it out. And you don't have to be in Chicago to do that either. Oh, this is fun. Sometimes students have invited supervisors to come to our law school. That's really fun.
Really fun.
It is really fun. Because we get to do this, which we like doing, we get to meet new people, we get to have the experience of doing a little more public speaking. So sometimes it goes through career services. The career services reaches out to us and says, oh, we're having a presentation about fellowships. Beth, would you be happy to talk about your Equal Justice Fellowship? And Beth would say yes. Guess what? Also, we travel. So if you don't go to law school close by, that's okay. Beth and I have actually driven to another state to talk about fellowships and our relationship, our reverse mentoring relationship. So don't just think like, oh, because I don't go to school in Chicago, they'll never come visit me. We will. Reach out to us. Give it a try.
Even if it's not a speaking opportunity, if it's some sort of career fair that your university is having, or some sort of networking event, or maybe even a public interest auction we've been to, those are really fun.
Next one, yeah, an auction. Those are fun too. So we'll say yes to that also. And ask us to not just attend the auction, but ask your supervisor to maybe, as part of the auction, donate a lunch. And that's something Beth and I have done. We've donated a lunch, so a student bids on it, and if they're interested in disability law or public interest, you know, they could bid on the lunch and we'll take them out to lunch. Okay, a real story from this week actually. I got an email from a woman who Beth and I had taken out to a lunch when she was her first semester of her 1L year. She is now going to be a 3L. We had a really nice lunch, we really liked her, but it just never worked out that she was an intern in our office. So I got an email from her last week saying, I realized that the internships positions are open for the fall. Not sure if you remember me, we had lunch a while ago, I do remember her, can I interview? And I said, sure, that'd be great. So again, you know, think about that, or if you go to one of these auctions, I know, you know, a lot of them do offer a lunch or dinner out with an attorney. Okay, I know it feels uncomfortable, but that's not a bad thing to bid on, especially if the lunch or dinner is for two. So you can bring maybe, you know, your friend from law school, so it would feel a little more comfortable. But another strategy, again, to sort of stay connected, we'll travel.
So with that, some takeaways. Speak up, stand out for the crowd. This is be an institutional citizen. Be ready to take on tasks outside of your legal internship that are going to help the organization. You're always being evaluated, so keep that in mind. Be strategic. Don't let your summer kind of slip by without accomplishing what you want. So whether that's, like Mari said, getting up in court, whether that's getting a writing sample, or whether that's trying to sustain your internship into the next semester. Don't let things just go past you. Make sure that you're getting accomplished what you set out to accomplish this summer. And then finally, as you move forward, build and maintain the relationships, and hopefully we gave you some good strategies today that you feel comfortable using in the future. So are there any questions that you guys have? Anything specific to you about networking? If you see kind of maybe something that we talked about that you don't think necessarily applies to you, we can try to brainstorm together and figure out some strategies. Sure.
So my name is Joel Kim. I'm not a fully intern, but I'm just here for the summer. Thank you again for this. I'm at LAF for the summer. Are there some things we should avoid, or some pitfalls that you've seen for other people that we should watch out for?
In terms of summer interns?
Yeah.
Mari?
Yeah, I think kind of you reverse the tips. So if you think about like not completing assignments, that's pretty stressful for me. When I realized that I gave someone else an assignment for the summer and then they didn't do it. So complete what you've been asked to complete. If you feel like that's going to become a problem, let your supervisor know as soon as possible that you're like having a challenge completing it, or you need more more feedback from them. I mean, I think also I don't want to like get hung up on it, but I do want to stress that you are being evaluated for other aspects of your time there in the summer beyond your legal work. So if there's a meeting, are you showing up on time? That one is really important to me. If somebody comes in late, I feel like they don't value what material is being presented, or if there's a speaker, they don't value the speaker's time. So being on time is really important. And I also think that for me, and this is something that for me personally is really, really important. My interns know this because I talk to them about it all the time. And it probably applies to LAF too, because it's a little bit of a bigger agency. But if there are other interns there, it makes me so happy when you guys are working together as a team, when I see you leave together and know that you're gonna go out to the Grant Park and watch a movie together, or just that I know that you guys are really, you're doing good work, but you're not being competitive against each other. You're not tearing each other down. That's really, really important to me.
So I think even if, don't force friendships with your other interns if you don't want to be friends with them. But I think, if there's situations where you can work something out as an intern group rather than going to your supervisor, really being kind of a cohesive work unit would be helpful too. Any other thoughts? Well,
Great, thanks.
Thanks so much for having us. This was really fun.